Welcome on into the Josh Reese Show. I'm your host, Josh Reese, and this video is going to be talking about Will Fuller and what comes next for the Houston Texans. As right now, Will Fuller has suffered a broken collarbone. He'll be out for 2 to 3 months. So this video is going to be detailing what the Houston Texans should do to shore up his position for the upcoming season, because he is obviously going to miss opening day. But before we get into that, please follow my friends over at Countryside Massage here in Conroe, Texas. I have them linked in the description below. Stop this video, take 2 seconds, click the description box, click the link, give them a like and a follow on Facebook. I would appreciate it. They're supporters of mine. I'm supporters of their work as well. Thank you. So let's get on into it. As of Wednesday, the Texans finished practice, and during practice, John McClain tweeted out that Will Fuller went up for a pass, came down hard, and Texans gave no update on Will Fuller afterwards, but it was soon learned very shortly after that Will Fuller was going to be having surgery and he would be missing some significant time for the Texans. I think they first put it out as he would be out indefinitely, and now the thinking is at least the next 2 to 3 months. So conservative estimates, I think, would put Will Fuller out before the last game in October, which is October 29th. That's a game against the Seattle Seahawks. The Texans have a bye week the week before that. So I think it would be a fair assessment to say if all things go right, the Texans of course want him back as soon as possible, but there's no reason to really rush it. So maybe, that game after the bye week, as they play the Seattle Seahawks, that might be a good target to see Will Fuller come back for. If he misses that game and it takes a little bit longer, this could be a very something that the Texans were not expecting if he takes any longer than that. So these are the games that the Texans are likely going to be playing without Will Fuller. We have the first game against the Jaguars, second game at the Bengals, third game at the Patriots, then you come home for the Titans and Chiefs, the Browns, and then you have the bye week, and then that finishes out his 2 to 3 months at the Seahawks. So if you're telling me Will Fuller is not going to play for the full 3 months and he does not come back for that Seahawks game, even without Will Fuller and no additions to the team, I think the Texans still are able to do a pretty decent record in this month. I think they're going to beat the Jags. The Texans always seem to beat the Jags, at least of late. They should beat the Titans. They should definitely beat the Browns. The Bengals game, that might be competitive. Who knows? The Patriots game and the Seahawks game, with or without healthy Will Fuller, is going to be a really difficult game. So that's what the Texans are facing right now. So I did tweet something out earlier. If anybody follows me on Twitter, you can find me at Mr. Joshua. I tweeted out a list that Spot Track has of all the available wide receiver free agents. There's a lot of interesting names on there, and I do want to kind of talk about a few of them, because a lot of people were pointing out a couple of the names as potential fits for the Houston Texans, and we should just kind of talk about those real quick. Cecil Shorts, who would seem to have the most connection to the Houston Texans, he is not going to be a target for the Texans. I've just recently learned that he is coming off a knee surgery. As of Wednesday, he had knee surgery, so Cecil Shorts is definitely not going to be in the Houston Texans' plans. Eddie Royal, someone that the Texans could be interested in. He's 31. You don't really have to count on him that much. Maybe you can lean on him a little bit while Will Fuller is out, but you definitely don't have to count on him definitely when he comes back. Vincent Jackson, very big wide receiver, but he's kind of like he's not very good anymore, and he hasn't been good for a couple years now. So that one does not seem to be a very good target for the Texans if they do tend to go this way. Two other names on here that I think are interesting. Dorial Green-Beckham, she had the stint with the Titans, also had the stint with the Eagles. Both mixed results, I think you could say. Maybe Houston thinks they can turn Beckham around here. And Houston, who knows? He is still very young and still has a lot of talent from when he was drafted early with the from the Missouri Tigers. There we go. I was thinking Missouri Hawks, but I'm thinking Iowa Hawks, the Hawkeyes. But anyways, I think the best name on this list, if the Texans are able to get him, would be Anquan Boldin. He is still a very, very productive NFL receiver. Last season with the Detroit Lions, I think he had 60 catches, had 8 touchdowns. He can still play. He's 36 years old, but last season he had 8 touchdowns. He can still give it a go. He's not going to be the explosive wide receiver down the field threat that Will Fuller is, but he can definitely catch passes. And that's something that this offense needs. Something that Will Fuller does not do is catch passes. So Anquan Boldin would be someone I think the Texans should give a look at. Now, no doubt the Texans are probably going to bring in a couple of these guys and give them a look. Who knows if they're going to sign them yet? I think what the Texans are hoping is that they can ride this out with Jalen Strong stepping into Will Fuller's spot and giving them a boost there. Because I don't see them moving Braxton Miller into that role, because I really kind of see them keeping Miller in that slot receiver role. I think that is something that they need to do. They need to keep him there. Even though he is quick and speedy, there's no need to put him over that spot. He was not ready to be a number 3 guy last year, even though he has learned the offense. He spent the season kind of learning his position, and now you're going to give him, the number 2 spot. And I keep him at number 3. So I think the best option for the Houston Texans is that Jalen Strong finally becomes a player that the Houston Texans saw when they drafted him and started giving him a couple possessions here and there. He had a couple good games against the Indianapolis Colts. He's had some very good moments when he's played with the Houston Texans. He's been one of those guys that shows it on game day, but not a very good practice player, and I think that's why he's been kind of limited here with the Texans. But now, with no Will Fuller, they kind of have to count on him. So, in a perfect world, the Texans are going to get good production from Jalen Strong. They're going to get good production from DeAndre Hopkins, and they're going to fill the rest of that void with the tight ends, because the Texans used the tight ends a hell of a lot last year. They're going to still be important this year. You're going to use some more running back. You're going to use some more passes out of the backfield to the running backs. I think that is what the Texans are hoping on in a perfect world. Now, if Jalen Strong in the next week and a half, kind of shows that he just isn't able to handle the amount of pressure that's going to be thrust upon his shoulders, I think that's when you could see the Texans sign one of these veteran wide receivers. Not really sure if Boldin or one of these other guys could step in and fill that role appropriately, because if you have Boldin, then you have DeAndre Hopkins, and you're going to kind of like muddy the field. You don't really have that guy that can take stuff over the top. But I'm sure the Texans will be able to figure it out anyways. I'm just kind of working this out in my head as I'm talking, and I think if I had to pick a direction that the Houston Texans are going to go, I think that they're going to stand pat. I think they're going to roll the dice with Jalen Strong. They're going to fill up the rest of the slack with the tight ends, with Ryan Griffin, with C.J. Fedorowicz, with maybe some Steven Anderson. They're going to fill up the slack with all those guys. Everyone is going to fill in Will Fuller's role until he gets back. And I think the people that are going to be hurt the most by this is going to be the offense, of course the offense, but the quarterbacks, because now they don't have that deep threat that they had last year, that at least, while they didn't catch very many passes, it was something that teams did have to kind of concern themselves with. So Tom Savage, now he's going to have a very hard time taking people off over the top, and the same with a new quarterback, Deshaun Watson. It's going to be more intricacies, and you're going to have a lot more possession receivers here for the Houston Texans. So that's just kind of my thoughts. I wanted to kind of talk about this with y'all and kind of get everyone's thoughts on what the Houston Texans are going to do to fill Will Fuller's role. So please leave me a comment, drop me a comment. Do you think the Texans are going to sign another wide receiver, or do you feel that the Texans are going to try to fill Will Fuller's role with everyone on the offense? You're going to see maybe Tyler Irving start to get involved. You're going to see C.J. Fedorowicz start to get more and more involved. You're going to see Lamar Miller catch a lot more passes. You're going to see everyone benefit from Will Fuller being out. And then when Will Fuller comes back, you have that deep threat that you've been missing forever, it seems. So the Texans are set up to kind of handle this. There is no great veteran receiver that the Texans have on their roster right now that can step in and give them meaningful, good reps during this time. So that is a little bit disconcerting, but the Texans are going to have to fill it with youth, in my humble opinion. So let me know what you guys out there are thinking. Do you think that maybe there's a trade that Rick Smith is going to work on? Try to trade for a wide receiver out there that's being underutilized. Maybe he's going to bring Keyshawn Martin back from the Patriots. Who knows? Who knows? Let me know. Do you think Texans are going to fill it in-house with everyone picking up Will Fuller's spot? Do you think they're going to sign another wide receiver, or do you feel that they're going to trade for a wide receiver? Let me know your thoughts. Leave it in the comments section below. I would appreciate it. Also, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like on the video. Feel free to give it a like. Feel free to share it with other Texans fans. Kind of get everyone talking about this discussion. Also, if you haven't followed my friends, please follow them over at Countryside Massage. Again, they're linked in the description box below. I would appreciate that. And also, if it's your first time viewing my YouTube channel and my happy smiley face, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Twitter at Mr. Joshua. I would appreciate it. Thank you. And I will be back sometime later this week because I feel that we have one last breakdown video to do for the Houston Rockets, and I think that's James Harden. So we've got one last Rockets breakdown video. So we'll be back sometime soon, guys. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and we'll catch y'all guys later.